I thought that the title husband would change him. I did. I walked in thinking that if he was my husband and I was his wife, that a title could make you change. I learned very quickly that titles do not make people change. And I also thought that if he would own me, I wanted to be Mrs. Steele. If he had ownership, then he would treat me accordingly. Oh, God. I had to learn that way that wasn't true either. And so I really, I just knew that if we could just be united, that would make a man change, but it doesn't. And plus, I needed to change also. We were two teenagers getting married, and I was looking for fulfillment. I was wanting to fulfill a void that I was missing. Of course, that void could only be filled by Jesus. I didn't know that then. But when I found out I was pregnant, before we got married, I ended up getting kicked out of my house by my parents. They were very upset by me, with me, and was moved into his parents' home, who were bishop and first lady, and I got thrusted from a Catholic lifestyle to storefront Pentecostal tambourine, getting healed, the same 30 people getting prayed for every Sunday church.
Facts.
And when I was in that environment, I didn't know what was going on. I was the project every Sunday because they were trying to push me down, I thought. And
grabbed by your stomach.
And because I wouldn't give in, I have a demon now, and so I was forced into this.
So I was the project every Sunday.
I was thrust into this lifestyle because when I found out I was pregnant, we were actually broken up during the summer. Okay. We're going to college. I had a full ride scholarship to college for classical piano. He had one for
classical
baseball.
Piano?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I was a classical pianist. And so I'm out of state. I find out I'm pregnant. I call him and I said, hey, I've gotten some news for you.
4 weeks later.
And he goes,
which means that he wasn't using protection. So this is unbelievable. So he was out there wilding.
Well, I got some news for you. And I'm like, well, you tell me first. He's like, I went to church tonight. I gave my life to Jesus. I'm saved. I'm going to be a preacher. I had never heard this before from him because he never spoke to me about Jesus. So, and he's like, my life has changed. I said, well, preacher, I'm pregnant. And first he asked me a question.
Who? Because I'm like, you've been gone for 4 weeks.
Come on.
I'm like, you're in Richmond, Virginia.
I am not you.
I
am not you.
So the first thing I told her, I said, keep the baby. Yep. I'll help you.
Right. Which was a miracle.
Because the plan was always, if something never happened, we got to get an abortion.
We always knew that.
We don't want anything to interrupt our future, our life, and so on and so forth. But when she got home a week or two later, we only lived a half a mile from each other.
Right.
So we met up at
half a mile.
Yes, half a mile. We went to different high schools, though, thank God, because if we went to the same high school, it wouldn't have worked. But we went to different high schools.
So we met up when she got back from Richmond, and I met up with her, and I'm like, we're gonna keep this thing pushing. We're gonna have the baby.
He was radically saved, going to church, living for Jesus. Just changed his life completely. And then after we got married, about a couple months after we got married, he looked at me and said, "I never had fun." And I didn't know what that meant.
As an adult.
Literally, he backslid for 5 years. Yeah. So he left this holy lifestyle back to smoking weed, drinking, chasing women. We would fight. Our house became the party house because my relationship with Jesus was attached to him. So if he went to church, I went to church. If he didn't go to church, I didn't go to church. And it is a form of idol worship, which I know that now. But he was my connection to Jesus. So at that time, I was chasing with knives, trying to jump on hoods of cars, fighting women. That was kind of a common thing. We were living in Section 8 housing on food stamps, having children, and it got so crazy that one day I said, I can't do this anymore because someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to either go to jail or get killed. Seriously.
So basically, Jasmine Sullivan, I broke the windows out your car was the theme song of your marriage.
No problem.
You over here jumping on hoods.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's a true
finding
story.
him at clubs, confronting just the whole thing.
So help me understand that. So what happened to where you found yourself on the hood? He's in the car?
Or trying to leave.
Oh, so and he's in the car. He ain't with the woman.
No.
She would sometimes hide my keys and help me look for him. That's how bad it was.
You would hide the keys and help him look.
Yes, be hunting. Where could they be?
And then and then back then you didn't have GPS. We didn't have cell phones. And so my friends would be like, "Hey, Reggie, man, your wife found us. She went in the club."
Yeah.
How would you find them?
I had mental GPS.
All my friends call her.
That's right. Well,
they call her to this day, Detective Kelley.
I can find anything. I would check mileage. I'd find hairs in the car. Whose hair is this?
Hair fibers.
Yeah.
You missed your college. You're supposed to work for forensics.
Well, sure. I actually ended up working for the police, actually. But
oh, you did?
For 13 years.
So finally, I was about.
Yes,
this
sir.
is true.
Yeah.
So I finally
Is anybody else finding
years.
this funny? Because I don't think any of this is funny.
leave him.
years.
At this point, I was working my way out of poverty. I got the job with the police department, and my aunt found me a job in Virginia to have me work.
So she was working her way out of poverty. She was with this bum ass N, living in Section 8 housing, on food stamps, having a bunch of children, while he's out at the illegal crap shooting place that his father and his father before him had visited, the illegal spot. Why was she in this situation? They both believed in abortion. How did this happen?
There, because I was going to leave. It was really bad. And I had my two babies with me trying to leave, and I put my hand on the door. And I'm not going to say God told me to stay or leave, but I felt like I couldn't leave. And I cried because I felt like I can't leave. I can't leave. And I went to bed that night, and I had a dream of him preaching.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning. Well, first of all, you were upset that I was still home.
Yeah, because I got home. I'm like, I thought you were moving to Virginia with the two kids. And she said, I had a dream that you became a preacher. I said, that's not going to happen.
Right.
I said, just because my dad does that mean I got.
So he came home and was upset that she was still there with the two kids. Somebody in the comments said, self-esteem, where you at? Yeah, self-love, where are you in this situation? On him and her, and this damn host laughing about this shit.
To be disciplined and committed, and I'm not trying to be either one.
Right.
You know,
and he said, I'm going to keep on smoking this weed and chasing these women.
Yeah.
That's what he told me. And, but I just felt like that dream could happen. I believed it. And one night, shortly after that, I was by myself because the marriage was still horrible, crashing. And I felt like I was going to lose my mind. Because, you know, you have all these moments, you know, God's amazing because you'll have moments of clarity and then moments of complete confusion.
Yeah.
And I was rocking back and forth. Remember, like, I'm going to lose my mind because it left again. It's gone again. And I heard the enemy tell me, you should die. You're not you're not worthy of anything. You should, you know, end your life and he'll never love you and all this stuff. And somehow, some way I was able to call on the name of Jesus. And when I called on his name, I literally felt.
You couldn't call on the name of psychiatrist? Or therapist, or even the suicide prevention hotline. You got these thoughts going on in your mind. Listen, if you start having thoughts of not being here anymore, please Google and get on the line with someone, a psychological professional that can help you make a decision that you're not going to regret